Good morning, dear students. We are going to discuss muscles of mastication and also temporomandibular joint today. So what are the various muscles of mastication? So when we were doing lateral view of the skull bone, that is norma lateralis, we came across a muscle in the temporal fossa, that was temporalis. When we were doing mandible, we have seen the attachment of masseter from outside, isn't it? From inside, we have seen the medial pterygoid. We also saw there is one more muscle, like that is lateral pterygoid. So masseter, medial pterygoid, lateral pterygoid, and temporalis. So these are the muscles what we have. These are the chief muscles of mastication. Okay. Muscles of mastication, temporomandibular joint can be an essay question. So muscles of mastication, we know like they develop from the mesoderm of first pharyngeal arch. Hence it is supplied by which nerve? The arch, first pharyngeal arch nerve is mandibular division of trigeminal nerve. So the principal muscles we have are temporalis, masseter, lateral pterygoid, medial pterygoid. Accessory muscles are not so important. Like when during your exam, it is only for our information and knowledge. But if it comes as an essay, if you write these four muscles, that is enough. So accessory muscles are digastric, buccinator, mylohyoid, and geniohyoid. Now let us start with temporalis. So temporalis muscle is fan-shaped muscle which is seen in the temporal fossa. It is covered by a tough fascia, isn't it? The name of this fascia is temporal fascia. So attached above the temporal line and below to the zygomatic arch. So this is the temporalis muscle and this is temporal fascia. Origin, whole of the floor of the temporal fossa except the part formed by zygomatic bone. Then also the deep surface of the temporal fascia. So insertion of temporalis, if you remember from mandible osteology, the fibers converge and descend to form a tendon which passes through the gap between zygomatic arch and the side of the skull, medial surface, apex and anterior border of the coronoid process of the ramus of the mandible. At least try to remember insertion of temporalis, coronoid process of the mandible bone, and also anterior border of the ramus of the mandible. Almost up to the last molar tooth, we will see the insertion of temporalis. Nerve supply, we know all the muscles are supplied by mandibular nerve. To be more specific, anterior and posterior deep temporal nerves, branches of anterior division of mandibular nerve. So actions like temporalis, it elevates the mandible and so closes mouth and approximates teeth. This movement requires both upward pull of anterior fibers and backward pull of posterior fibers. Posterior fibers retract mandible after it has been protruded. Basically, at least you try to remember temporalis elevates the mandible. Now coming to the second muscle, that is lateral pterygoid. It is short, thick, conical muscle. Apex is pointing backwards. So it passes backwards and slightly laterally from the roof and medial wall of infratemporal fossa to the neck of the mandible. So lateral pterygoid, it has two heads. This is the upper head, which is smaller, and this is the lower head, which is larger. Upper head comes from infratemporal surface and crest of the greater ring of sphenoid bone. Lower head is lateral surface of the lateral pterygoid plate of the sphenoid bone. Then insertion is the two fibers of two heads run backwards and laterally and converge to form a thick tendon. Like it gets inserted into this pterygoid fovea and the front of the neck of the mandible. It also gets inserted into the articular disc and capsule of temporomandibular joint. The capsule has been shown in green color. Disc of the joint has been shown in violet color. So this is upper small head. This is lower larger head. We can see insertion in the pterygoid fovea of the head of the mandible and also capsule of the temporomandibular joint and intraarticular disc. Nerve supply comes from branch of anterior division of mandibular nerve. So this is our mandibular nerve. Actually, trigeminal nerve will have three subdivisions. What are those? Ophthalmic, maxillary, and mandibular. through mandibular division of trigeminal, we will see the nerve supply of these muscles of mastication. Lateral pterygoid action, like when two muscles of both the sides act, they depress the mandible. Please remember, this is the only muscle which is depressing the mandible and which helps in opening the mouth. By pulling forwards, the condylar processes of the mandible and articular disc of temporomandibular joint. Lateral and medial pterygoid muscles of two sides acting together, they protrude the mandible. Lateral and medial pterygoid muscles of two sides contract alternately to produce side-to-side movements of lower jaw, as you see in chewing. Lateral pterygoid is the key muscle of infratemporal region because its relations provide a fair idea about layout of structures in this region when we do dissection. Okay, though it may sound very much theoretical when you read this topic. Okay, then coming to what are the structures which are seen above lateral pterygoid, though they form superficial relations, like we see ramus of mandible which has been cut. Outside we have masseter muscle, temporalis tendon which gets inserted in the coronoid process has been cut. Superficial head of the medial pterygoid, maxillary artery which we did in detail, and its temporal and masseteric branches. Okay, then deep relations. When you cut and remove lateral pterygoid, the deep relations, we will see their mandibular nerve, we will see middle meningeal artery, sphenomandibular ligament, deep head of medial pterygoid muscle. Okay. Lateral pterygoids, certain special points we have. So only masticatory muscle which helps in opening the mouth. It gets inserted into the capsule and also articular disc of temporomandibular joint. Hence, developmentally, it is a part of, that means the intra-articular disc, what we find inside the joint of temporomandibular joint is actually a remnant from the lateral pterygoid muscle, a part of tendon of lateral pterygoid muscle developmentally. Now coming to the, now if just practice this diagram and try to write, see this is the upper head and this is the lower head of the lateral pterygoid, and we know upper head is smaller, lower head is larger. This is the upper part of the upper head of the lateral pterygoid. So structures emerging at the upper border. What are we finding? We are finding deep temporal nerves. We are finding masseteric nerve. Structures emerging at the lower border. What are we finding? We are finding inferior alveolar nerve and inferior alveolar artery. We are finding lingual nerve. We are also finding middle meningeal artery. Through the gap, this is the upper head and this is the lower head. Through the gap between the two heads, we are finding the maxillary artery, which enters the gap to reach the pterygopalatine fossa through pterygomaxillary fissure. We also find this nerve, that is buccal nerve, which is the branch of mandibular nerve. It comes out through the gap to provide sensory innervation to the skin and mucous membrane of cheek. That forms the lateral pterygoid. Among all four muscles, basically lateral pterygoid is very important question. It itself may come as a 5 marks question. Overall, muscles of mastication is an essay question. Now coming to medial pterygoid, it's a, like we are seeing from inside, thick quadrilateral muscles. It also has two heads, like superficial and deep heads. The medial pterygoid, this is the jaw which you see from inside. Okay, these are the teeth from the upper jaw, teeth from the lower jaw. You are finding mandible from internal view. Inside view, you are finding genial tubercles. Okay, so just I am giving you certain hints to make you understand. Like from the inside aspect, we will be able to see this medial pterygoid muscle. So it has small superficial head coming from maxillary tuberosity and lateral surface of the pyramidal process of palatine bone. Large deep head arises from the medial surface of the lateral pterygoid plate and grooved surface of the pyramidal process of palatine bone. Medial pterygoid muscle, you can see this is the insertion, it is running. You can see how it running downwards, backwards, laterally to get inserted into the junction of the ramus and body, that is angle of the mandible from inside. Inserted to the posterior inferior part of the medial surface and the angle of the ramus of the mandible. Nerve supply, we know all muscles, mandibular nerve. This muscle, medial pterygoid, is receiving the nerve supply from the main trunk of the mandibular nerve. Let us see the relations of medial pterygoid. The superficial relations we have is lingual nerve, inferior alveolar nerve, inferior alveolar vessels. When you cut this muscle deep to this medial pterygoid, we will see levator palatini and tensor palatini muscles, superior constrictor, which is one of the muscles of pharynx, styloglossus and stylopharyngeus muscles. The action of medial pterygoid is two sides muscles of right and left side medial pterygoids elevate the mandible to help in closing of mouth. Acting with lateral pterygoid, medial pterygoids protrude the mandible. When medial and lateral pterygoid of one side act together, the corresponding side of the mandible is rotated forwards and to the opposite side. Lateral and medial pterygoid of two sides, when contract alternately, produce side-to-side movements which are used to grind the food, mastication. Now comes the last muscle, that is masseter, which is chewer. So that means it helps in chewing mechanism. This thick quadrilateral muscle covering the lateral surface of the ramus of the mandible, including the coronoid process. This is the strongest muscle, what we see among all four muscles of mastication. It has origin coming from as three layers: superficial layer, middle layer, and the deep layer. The superficial layer is coming from the maxillary process of zygomatic bone, anterior 2/3 of the inferior border of the zygomatic arch, middle layer, lower border of the posterior 1/3 of the zygomatic arch. Deep layer arises from the deep surface of the zygomatic arch. Insertion. The superficial fibers pass backwards, downwards, at least 45 degrees to be inserted into the angle and lower posterior half of the lateral surface of the ramus of the mandible. Middle fibers, they pass vertically downwards to get inserted into central part of the ramus. Deep fibers pass vertically downwards to get inserted into upper part of the mandibular ramus and coronoid process. This is the coronoid process of mandible. Nerve supply, masseteric nerve, which is also one of the branches of the anterior division of mandibular nerve. Action, masseter elevates the mandible. Okay, so this is completely mandibular nerve. This is the main trunk from where you have the nerve supply to medial pterygoid. Then we have anterior division and then we have posterior division. Okay, that is. So the various movements are written in a nutshell here. Protrusion of the mandible is brought about by lateral pterygoid, assisted by medial pterygoid. Oh, even this much if you write is enough. Retraction is brought about by posterior fibers of temporalis, deep part of masseter, geniohyoid and digastric. Elevation, temporalis, masseter and medial pterygoid. Depression is brought about because of gravity, digastric, geniohyoid and mylohyoid muscles. Okay. Coming to the applied aspects of muscles of mastication, there is a clinical condition called as trismus, also called as lockjaw. So, which is caused due to spasm of both the masseters, right and left masseters. They are undergoing spasm because of certain infections like tetanus. Okay. Like condition is known as trismus, which produces lockjaw. Okay. The muscles of mastication and their motor innervation can be tested clinically by asking the patient to clench his teeth. Okay. Repeatedly and then palpating the temporalis. Okay. Let me show you. Clenching is something when you tightly close. Temporalis is here. Okay. Check in this way. Repeatedly and then palpating the temporalis and masseter in the temporal fossa and over the ramus of the mandible. Okay, to check this. Now, once we are done with muscles of mastication, now let us move to temporomandibular joint. Okay, temporo spelling is P-O, I'm sorry. So temporomandibular joint is a bicondylar variety of synovial joint. The bones forming the joint above, you will see mandibular fossa of temporal bone, which I have clearly shown you when I was doing norma lateralis. You can review that class. Below, you will see head of the mandible. Okay. So this is the mandibular fossa and this is the head of the mandible. Mandibular fossa, head of the mandible. So temporomandibular joint, articular surfaces, upper articular surface, we have articular fossa, articular eminence of the temporal bone, concavo-convex, the surface is from behind forwards. This is concave and this is convex. Lower articular surface, head of the condyle of the mandible, which is elliptical in shape, which is covered by fibrocartilage. If you remember, all the joints will be covered with hyaline cartilage. Here is the exception. Please remember, it can be a neat PG question also. Okay. So it is covered by a fibrocartilage and not by hyaline cartilage. Hence, temporomandibular joint is an atypical synovial joint. Okay. It's a different joint. So here, this is the head of the mandible, or condyloid process of the mandible. This is the fibrocartilage. This is the mandibular fossa and temporal bone. Margins of these bones are covered with fibrous capsule. Inside the joint cavity, you are finding the intra-articular disc. So intra-articular disc divides the joint cavity into two compartments, upper compartment and lower compartment. Okay. Menisco-temporal compartment towards temporal bone, menisco-mandibular compartment towards mandible bone. Okay, the same thing is written here. See, this is our mandibular fossa of temporal bone. This is the head of the mandible. So head of the mandible is fixing in the mandibular fossa of temporal bone to form temporomandibular joint. Like any other joint outside, you will see the covering, that is fibrous capsule, which is shown in the dotted line. Inside the joint cavity, unlike the other joints, we are finding here the intra-articular disc. Of course, we found such a disc in the knee joint as well. Okay, then which we have used the word menisci there. Here it is intra-articular disc, which is a degenerated tendon of which muscle? Lateral pterygoid. Now divided, this joint cavity has been divided into two compartments. The upper is meniscotemporal compartment, lower is meniscomandibular compartment by this intra-articular disc. So of fibrocartilage. Even this is also fibrocartilage. The upper compartment permits gliding movements. Lower compartment permits gliding as well as rotational movements because head is here. Okay. The ligaments we see associated with temporomandibular joint are, we have outside covering is fibrous capsule. Inside we have articular disc. We have lateral ligament. We have accessory ligaments like sphenomandibular ligament coming from the sphenoid bone to the mandible. Sphenomandibular, from the styloid process to the angle of mandible, we have stylomandibular ligament. Now let us discuss the articular disc. Inside the joint, we have the articular disc, which is oval plate of fibrocartilage. Upper surface is concavo-convex, which fits against the articular eminence and concavity of articular fossa. The inferior surface is this, which is concave, and it is fitting into the convex head of the mandible. Periphery of the disc is, this is the periphery of the disc. This is the periphery of the disc, which is firmly attached to the fibrous capsule. Meniscotemporal and meniscomandibular compartment. Now coming to the parts of this articular disc, which is a fibrocartilage, it has anterior extension. Okay, this is the anterior extension. Then it has anterior thick band. It has intermediate thin zone. It has posterior band, which is also thicker than anterior band. Then this is posterior bilaminar zone, which is splitting into upper and lower laminae. Upper lamina of the posterior band and lower lamina of the posterior band. Now coming to the fibrous capsule, which is shown in green dotted lines. So fibrous sac to enclose the joint cavity. Superiorly, it is attached to the articular tubercle, circumference of the articular fossa and squamotympanic fissure. Below, it is attached to the neck of the mandible. Okay, it is loose above the intraarticular disc and tight below the intraarticular disc. So synovial membrane, like any other joint, even it is covered by synovial membrane. Okay, and neck of the, like, completely you will see the covering of the fiber, like the synovial membrane. Now let us talk about the ligaments. Now from the side view, whatever you see, this ligament is actually called as lateral ligament. So lateral ligament is also called as temporomandibular ligament because it is coming from the temporal bone to the mandible. Very simple. So it's a true ligament thickening of the lateral aspect of the capsule of the temporomandibular joint, which is running downwards and backwards. Above, it is attached to the articular tubercle and to the root of the zygoma. Below, it is attached to the posterolateral aspect of the neck of the mandible. It strengthens the lateral aspect of the capsule. This is our lateral ligament, also called as temporomandibular ligament. Then we have sphenomandibular ligament coming from the spine of the sphenoid bone below to the lingula, to the lower margin of the mandibular foramen of the mandible. It lies on the deeper plane away from the joint capsule. The sphenomandibular ligament represents unossified intermediate part of the sheath of Meckel's cartilage of first pharyngeal arch. It becomes strengthened, accentuated, and taut when the mandible is protruded. Okay. Then now coming to the relations of this sphenomandibular ligament, laterally it is related to lateral pterygoid muscle, auriculotemporal nerve, maxillary artery, inferior alveolar vessels and nerves. Okay. Medially it is related to medial pterygoid, cauda tympani, which is a branch of facial nerve, and the wall of pharynx. This is the wall of pharynx. So this is our sphenomandibular ligament from the spine of the sphenoid bone to the margins of the lingula of the mandibular foramen. Okay, sphenomandibular ligament. Now coming to the stylomandibular, from the styloid process to the angle and posterior border of the ramus of the mandible, we have stylomandibular ligament. Okay, attached above to the styloid process and below to the angle and adjoining border of the posterior ramus of the mandible. Stylomandibular ligament is formed due to thickening of investing layer of deep cervical fascia. Isn't it? We discussed this point when we were doing deep cervical fascia. It separates the parotid gland from submandibular salivary gland. The ligament also becomes taut, tight when the mandible is protruded. Coming to stylomandibular ligaments relations, laterally it is related to skin and fasciae, parotid gland, temporal branches of facial nerve. Medially it is related to tympanic plate, separating it from internal carotid arteries, spine of the sphenoid, auriculotemporal nerve, middle meningeal artery, sphenomandibular ligament, cauda tympani nerve. Anteriorly, it is related to tendon of lateral pterygoid, masseteric nerve and vessels. Posteriorly, like we have post-glenoid part of parotid gland, separating it from external auditory meatus, superficial temporal vessels and auriculotemporal nerve. So many relations to remember is difficult and you can ignore also. Just to complete the topic, I'm telling you everything. Then relations of temporomandibular joint. Anteriorly, it is related to lateral pterygoid, temporalis, masseteric nerves and vessels. Posteriorly, it is TMJ, temporomandibular joint, is related to parotid gland, external acoustic meatus, auriculotemporal nerve. Laterally, you can palpate in your own body, it is subcutaneous. Medially, it is related to lateral pterygoid, spine of sphenoid, cauda tympani nerve. Above, it is related to middle cranial fossa. All these relations are important. Blood supply of TMJ comes, temporomandibular joint comes from superficial temporal and maxillary arteries. Nerve supply comes from auriculotemporal and masseteric nerves. So what are the various factors which maintain this joint stable? The bones, ligaments, muscles, and the position of mandible. So this movement, what you are seeing here is protrusion, also called as protraction. Simultaneous movement of lateral and medial pterygoid. Retraction is this movement, the opposite movement, which is brought about by posterior fibers of temporalis. Okay. Then we have elevation of the mandible, opening of mouth, that is depression of the mandible. Only one muscle, what is that? Lateral pterygoid. Okay. Elevation, we have masseter, everything you write except lateral pterygoid. Masseter, temporalis, and medial pterygoid. Okay. Depression, first thing to open the mouth is lateral pterygoid. Okay. Accessory muscles, if you remember, you can write geniohyoid, mylohyoid, digastrix, and of course, because of gravity also. Okay. Side-to-side movements are produced by the lateral and medial pterygoids acting alternately. So this is a very good table which summarizes everything which has been taken from Vishram Singh. Okay, movements of the mandible and muscles producing them. It helps you to write the movements of the muscles of mastication and also movements of temporomandibular joint. So please learn this table. Depression is brought about by lateral pterygoid, digastric, genioid, mylohyoid, and gravity. Elevation, masseter, medial pterygoid, temporalis. Protrusion or protraction, medial and lateral pterygoids. Retraction, posterior fibers of temporalis. Side-to-side chewing movements, medial and lateral pterygoids of one side contracting alternately with that of opposite side. So now coming to the applied aspects or applied anatomy, see, this is basically we know like head of the mandible is fixed in the temporal, like mandibular fossa of the temporal bone. So suppose if it is slipping forwards, you call it as dislocation of mandible, usually in the forward direction, in forceful opening of mouth. When somebody is yawning very like in an irregular fashion, sometimes this may happen. The dislocation is treated by elevating the chin to throw the head of the mandible in proper position. Okay, like this, reducing the dislocated jaw. Press the patient's premolar teeth downwards. At the same time, press the underneath of his chin like this and upwards and try to just push it backwards so that the one which has moved anteriorly, see this was a normal position, it has moved anteriorly. If you just help in this way, it goes and fixes in the normal position. Thank you.